So how do you survive and persevere in a dark music industry where there's high competition and cutthroat behavior and all of this kind of stuff? Well, in this live stream, we're going to be talking about surviving the music industry, and we're going to give practical strategies for long-term success in a competitive industry. And I want to welcome you to this live stream today, and we're going to jump right in and talk about some valuable things here. I want to start by talking about what's actually happening in the music industry that we need to be concerned about. Well, the first thing is that competition is getting much larger. We all have seen over the past couple of years where there's been like a plethora of people coming onto social media platforms and people getting involved in content creation and all of that kind of stuff. And that is bringing competition to the table that we kind of have to contend with. And in addition to that, there's been a lot of people that, have come into this space and just kind of have started doing their thing while it's, other musicians that's kind of been left behind, kind of sitting on the sidelines, which means we need to take some action, but I'll get into that later. But the competition is getting much larger in this whole field that we're talking about. It's easier now than ever before for, people to start bands, to get gigs, all of that kind of stuff. People are playing for lower amounts, all of these kind of things. And that makes the competition of gigs, of opportunities be more scarce, or it makes the competition be much larger and the opportunities be more scarce from what we're trying to achieve as musicians. So that's the first thing. Competition is getting much larger. Now, in addition to that, focused attention is getting harder to acquire. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, we live in the time now where attention is the new currency. Having attention, having focused attention is the new way that people gain money. When you think about it, this is how companies like Netflix, all of the streaming companies, Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, you name it, HBO Max, all of them, they want attention. YouTube, streaming platform, it wants your attention. It wants you to be focused on their platform. Facebook, all of the social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of them, they want attention. The main way that they make their money on their platforms is through getting your attention. Now, the problem with this is that we have had so much come into this circle again, like we just talked about, competition is getting much larger. That branches out into the stuff that we're talking about too, where everything is trying to get your attention. There is, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I usually watch on some of the streaming platforms. I usually watch a couple of the streaming shows here and there. I've had my favorites over the years, but recently it's become much harder for me to get involved in a show, watch this show and say, this is my show. This is one of my favorite shows. And the reason for that is because there's so much stuff to watch. When I turn on Netflix, for example, I could stream or stroll through Netflix for hours on end before I even find something that I want to watch. And the thing about it is most of the stuff on there looks fairly interesting. It's not that it's not interesting. It's just that it's so much on there that you have to kind of spend this time choosing what you want to watch. And for me, it kind of makes this sort of thing where it's like a paralysis by analysis, where there's so much to watch, I just don't even end up watching it. And I'll stream or kind of stroll through Netflix for 30 or 40 minutes and then end up turning it off because I'm like, I can't find anything to watch. And that's the thing about attention now. And why this is a problem. You may ask why this is a problem for us musicians, artists, and bands. Well, in an industry now where attention is the currency and we all want to garner attention on our social media platforms, on our businesses, to get more gigs, to get more, all of this kind of stuff, right? It's getting much harder to do that because there's so much of it out there. Now, the next thing is everybody is guessing on what to do next. And this includes clubs and bars and churches and all of that kind of stuff. Because of everything that I just described with the competition and the focused attention and all of that, everybody is just guessing on, like, how do we handle this? What do we need to do next? Where do we need to go? Like clubs, or how do we get people in our clubs? How do we get people in our bars? Churches, or how do we get people to come to church? Like all of this kind of stuff is just everybody is guessing on what to do next. And this presents a problem because we're in this, I guess you can call it sort of a transition period where we're trying to figure out our next steps. Everybody's doing that. It presents a problem, but it also presents an opportunity, because if you're in this game and you're kind of the first to the line of kind of figuring out this process, there's a lot to be gained from it. When you figured out how to garner the attention, how to get past the competition and do something or make something that is extremely valuable to other people, you get past this whole situation that we're talking about what's happening in the industry that we need to be concerned about. So those are the things that are happening in the industry right now that we should have some concern about. I'll go over here to the chat just for a second, just to see what you guys are saying. Hey guys, welcome. I see Taxi is here. What's up, bro? Long time no see, man. Good to see you. Let me see. Melita saying hi, Terrence. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for being here, Melita. Yeah. So you guys let me know what you're thinking about that. We'll keep going with what we got going on here. So now we'll get into some survival strategies on some things that we can do to kind of navigate this process that we're talking about the industry being, full of competition, by it having, attention being the new currency and us having to garner attention and all of that kind of stuff. What do we need to do? So the first strategy I want to talk about is embracing change and innovation. And this strategy is about being adaptable and allowing yourself to grow and change. This is something that a lot of us musicians and artists and bands deal with, particularly musicians, artists and bands who've been in this for a long time and have had some success. One of the things that I say all the time is that it's extremely hard to convince people to do something different when what they have been doing has worked for them. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to convince somebody to do something different when what they're doing is working for them or has worked for them in the past. The problem with that is that what happens is people think that this thing that has worked for them all along or in the past will continue to work for them, will consistently work for them. And that's just not the case. We're in a time where change is happening rapidly. We're talking about 2.5 years ago, where something like Chat GPT didn't even exist. Now we're in a complete world of AI, right? Where it has pretty much dominated everything that we do. We use it for productivity. We use it for pretty much everything we're doing now. We're talking about just 2 years ago, right? So we're in this time where things are happening really, really, really quickly. And the better or the more able we're able to adapt to these changes that happen so frequently now, the more likely it is that we're going to survive and grow in this industry. So that's the first thing. Now, the next thing is, in this, you have to understand that many animals adapt to their environments to survive. So this adaptability thing that we're talking about, this is, nature. This happens all around us. If you think about an animal like a camel, camels have adapted to their environments where they have the big hump in their back, where they keep water in their back so that when they're in these extremely hot deserts and all of that kind of stuff, they stay hydrated. They've also developed stuff like these, I think it's like larger feet or something like that, that helps them kind of navigate through the sand and all of that. Other things, if you think about polar bears on the other end of the spectrum, if you think about polar bears who have adapted to the, the cold, where their fur is thickened to keep them warm in these extremely cold environments. They adapt to change. They've evolved to adapt. If you think about some of the insects, like these, they have like these kind of stick looking bugs and insects that camouflage themselves as tree limbs or sticks and stuff like that to kind of avoid predators, right? They adapt to their surroundings. They adapt to their environments. So what we're talking about here as it concerns adaptability, like this is something that's a conscious being kind of thing. We all as humans and as animals adapt to changes in our environment. And the ones that adapt, if you think about the animals that I just named, the camel, the polar bear, the stick bugs and all of that, they survive longer. And this is what we're talking about, survival, right? They survive longer. They persevere through all of the changes that happen and the predators that come and all of this kind of stuff because they adapt to their environments. So then when we're talking about embracing change and innovation, what do we need to do? What's the action step we need to take here? Well, what we need to do is start getting comfortable with discomfort and change. My friends, when I tell you, this is the game-changing action. Getting comfortable with discomfort and change, right? Here's what I mean. You guys know that's been following me for a while. I'm kind of into fitness a little bit. I'm not like a gym head or anything like that. I'm going to go to the gym for sure, but I'm not like this, oh my God, gym is everything. But I am into fitness and stuff like that. And one of the things that anybody in fitness will tell you is that in order to get results, you need to be consistent. If you want to lose weight, you want to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds or whatever it is, you have to consistently do something. You have to consistently eat better, consistently work out. If you want to gain muscle, get bigger muscles, you have to consistently work out. You have to consistently eat right. And the thing about that is that when you work out consistently, when you go to the gym, especially if it's your first time, after that first day, you're going to be really, really sore, right? You're going to do some push-ups. You're going to do whatever the exercise is, some bench presses, whatever it is. And you're going to be sore the next day or a couple of days later, right? It's that discomfort right there that stops most people. It's that discomfort. It's that kind of, I'm sore a couple of days after, and this is so uncomfortable to me that I don't want to go through this process again and go through this sort of discomfort anymore. But when you understand, when you take the people who have been successful, who have successfully gained muscle, lost weight, or lost the weight that they want to lose and all of that kind of stuff, they've become comfortable with this discomfort. Not only have they become comfortable with it, they sort of welcome it. They use the discomfort as a sort of gauge to let them know that they're doing something right. And this is what I mean when we're talking about adaptability. For a lot of us musicians and artists and bands, this is, a change. We as humans in general just have this sort of adverse reaction to change. We don't want things to be much different than they are. Even me, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is so appropriate, apropos to what I'm talking about here. So let me pull my, I have a phone here that I cracked the screen on. I dropped the phone. I'll show it to you. I cracked my screen on this phone about 4 days. So on Thursday of last week. So it's been about 5 days now. Cracked my screen on this phone. I've had this phone for about a year now, and this is the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. That's what this phone is. I went to try to get the screen repaired. I went to one of the, service kiosks or whatever to try to get the screen repaired. They told me it was going to cost about $270 to get the screen repaired. And I was like, what the heck are you, like, really? for a screen. Long story short, I end up going to my service is with T-Mobile. So I go to the T-Mobile store, tell them what's going on. And it just so happens that they're running a special in the store where they're taking trade-ins on any phone. Like if the screen is cracked, if it's broken or whatever, and they're giving you $1,000 toward a new phone. Now, if you know, this is 2025 and recently the S25 Ultra just came out. So long story short, I traded in my phone. I'm calling it trading. I have to send this phone back in, but I just got the new one literally yesterday. This is the new one, brand new phone here. This is the S25 Ultra. Now we're talking about getting comfortable with adapting to change. There's a few things that is different about this phone than this one. And I just got the phone yesterday and I set it up and I spent all last night trying to get used to the things that are different about this phone. And I'm sitting up frustrated. I'm like, man, why did they change this here? I like this other thing here. Why is it different? Why do I have to swipe down for this? Why do I have to move this there? Why does the screen do this instead of doing that? Right. I'm sitting up here complaining about, I say this all the time. This is a global communications device that is more powerful than basically the computers they had at NASA in the 60s. I got this device in my hand and I'm complaining about, where I got to scroll to on the next screen and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just an example of how we're not really comfortable with change. It's such a thing that when we learn that about ourselves and we become comfortable with that, we can navigate this industry a whole lot better. When we look at, we tend to over the years look at things like when people start producing music in these ways where you didn't really have to be a musician to know how to produce music anymore, where all of the tools were coming out. We're pretty much doing this stuff for you. You could push a button and have it play a guitar riff or, all of this kind of stuff. And people were mad at that. The older musicians, like myself, were mad at that and were saying, well, this is not real music because they weren't real musicians and all of that. And yet and still those musicians who were producing that kind of stuff have gone on to be very, very successful. And those who have adapted to using those tools and stuff like that have also become more productive and become more successful. So again, getting comfortable with the discomfort of change is a game changer in what we need to be doing to survive in this music industry that we find ourselves in now. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me go over here to the chat for a second. Hey, just really quickly, if you guys would do me a quick favor, if you're getting value out of this video and you like these live streams and stuff like that, make sure you like this video. Just go ahead and do that now. Just hit the like button on here. That helps this video get shared to more people and goes out to more people and all of that kind of stuff. So again, let me go over here to the chat. Triva is here saying but let's be honest, cons were deliberately stealing and committed horrific crime against me. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Triva, you let me know what you're talking about. So this was a highly uncommon RICO crime. I worked at this every day and I've been working at it my whole entire life. So you can't talk to me about consistency, although I do respect what you're saying because I know it's true. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about there. Triva, if you can give me more context on what you're talking about. I know you mentioned consistency. Yeah, you're saying consistency to be true. So yeah, sure. Consistency is a thing that we have to do when it comes to being successful and surviving in this industry that we're talking about. So let's go ahead and move on to the next strategy that we need to use in surviving in this industry. And the next strategy is we need to cultivate resilience and emotional strength. And this goes right in line with the first tip about being consistent and adapting and all of that, like we were just talking about. So cultivating resilience and emotional strength is about keeping a positive outlook, really, no matter what happens. And this is something that's important too, because what happens is, again, a lot of us tend to look at all of this stuff that's going on now. A lot of us tend to look at this and say, the competition is high. The market is saturated. like only certain bands get gigs, only certain musicians get hired at these events and churches and stuff like that. And we tend to get a little negative about the outlook on it. But we have to cultivate that emotional strength and that resilience to be able to say, you know, even though that this stuff may have some truth to it, there's still a lot of opportunity out there. There's still room for me. I think this is the thing that a lot of musicians sort of deal with, in that they think when competition is high, it leaves less room for them. And fortunately, again, we live in this world now where there is room for everybody. It's not like a typical market where we would have been talking about this in a major business, say, you know, 15, 20 years ago or something like that. It's more of, you're talking about the internet, where attention is, we talked about attention being the new currency, but there's room for everybody to get attention. Although it's being, you know, taken up by a lot of other things, Netflix, Disney Plus, and all of that, right? So again, we have to develop that sort of positive outlook and understand that we can do this and that everything is going to be okay. Now, the next thing, as we're talking about this, is that we can't let disappointment and disappointment discourage us. We have to keep going even when it seems pointless. My friends, this is strength. I just gave the example about working out, right, and fitness, and about how being consistent is what's going to get you to the goal. Well, guess what? While you're doing that, while you're trying to gain muscle or lose 20 pounds and all of that, right? While you're trying to do that, there's going to be some times in that process where it's going to look like you're doing all of this work and it's not seemingly getting you the results that you want. You went to the gym all of this week. You did mostly everything you're supposed to do right, and you didn't even lose any weight. Matter of fact, you may have gained a pound or two. That's going to happen. And it's going to come where it's going to seem, well, why am I doing this? This is pointless. Those processes, I have come to sort of think and believe in life, are just processes that sort of test your resilience. Anytime you're trying to achieve something new, go to a new height, gain a new goal, get to a new goal, there's going to be things in that process that's going to test your resilience. And actually, it's a good thing. You want those things to test your resilience, because when you achieve this new level that you're trying to get to, you want to have the strength and the resilience to maintain it. And the way that you get that resilience and strength is that it's tested and it's tried on the way to that goal. So this is a good thing. This is why we can't let the disappointment, what seems to be disappointment, discourage us in this process, even when it seems pointless, even when it seems like you're not getting there. I'll give you an example. So right now on my Instagram, you hear me talk about this quite a bit, but on my Instagram, I think roughly, and I haven't checked in a while, I think it's like 110,000 subscribers, maybe 111,000 subscribers or something like that. And a lot of people see that as this like big thing. And it's significant. So I don't want to make light of it or anything. So it's significant. And the way that I got there was posting, a lot of my videos of me playing cover songs and all of that kind of stuff. And I had a few of them that took off and went viral. And that's what got me the subscribers. But before those videos took off, I spent, oh my goodness, a good 5-6 years just posting videos of the same stuff that I went viral for. I think it's been almost about 3 years ago now since I had that massive growth. The same stuff that I was posting 3 years ago was the same stuff I was posting 7 or 8 years ago. I didn't really do anything different. I just stayed consistent, and the consistency paid off. But guess what? About 7 or 8 years ago, when I would post a video, it would get 10, 15 views, maybe 100 views, 200 views on a good day. Some of my friends and stuff that followed me would share it and people would leave a few comments on, oh, hey, this is nice. And that's about as good as it would get. Now, the key there is I was doing that while all of my contemporaries, all of the other people that I follow that are that have gained the success as musicians and stuff on social media, they were getting massive views, 50, 60,000 views, 100,000 likes, this many shares and all of that kind of stuff. I'm watching all of this happening. And while I'm kind of doing the same thing that they're doing, I'm looking at it, it's like, I'm not really doing anything differently than they are. So why are they getting the success and I'm not? I kept posting. I just kept posting. And this is something we'll talk about in another one of the strategies upcoming. But what I did was I fell in love with the process. I just said, I'm going to do this for fun. This is fun for me and I'm going to have fun doing it. And then it eventually caught on. This is why we can't let disappointment discourage us from keeping going. All right. So everybody got what I'm saying there? Now, the next part of this is that the action that we need to do, again, is fall in love with the process of growth. For me, when the situation that I just mentioned happened with Instagram, I was just in love with the process. I loved making those videos. I loved posting cover songs. I would do my own tracks to my videos and stuff like that. So I loved producing the music and I loved playing to it. And it was just really a matter. I was just doing this to kind of practice and learn music and all of that kind of stuff. And I would just set a camera up and record myself playing it. And again, it caught on. So when you fall in love with the process of growth, of getting from point A to point B, of discomfort, when you fall in love with going to the gym or working out, that's what's going to get you the results because it's going to allow you to be consistent. So everybody get what I'm saying there? So let's go back over here. Eastern Sun is saying, I am from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for your content. Hey, man, thank you so much for being here. Eastern Sun, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. Steve is saying wise stuff. Yeah, thanks, man. I think it is wise. I think this is, again, what I'm doing now. Is even just what I just spoke to about being consistent and all of that. I like sharing this stuff. I don't have anything up right now that shows me the views on this video. Now, granted, I'll probably look at it at some point afterwards. So it's not like it's not in my head or anything. But as I'm doing this, as I'm writing out this content, as I'm putting these slides together, literally 99% of what my mind is on is, what can I say that is valuable? And how can I present this in a way that is valuable to people, that inspires them to grow, that they get something out of it, that when they watch this live stream for however long it is, that they leave away from this live stream just a little bit better, even if it's 1% better than when they came on the live stream. They know something, they're inspired to do something different. That's where my mind is. My mind is not on, I'm going to do these live streams and, hopefully hundreds of thousands of people are going to watch it and it's going to make me famous and it's going to get me all the views and get me contract deals. Matter of fact, even me saying that now sounds a little silly even in my mind to say it. So it's about these processes. It's about these things that you do to keep falling in love with the process of doing what you do. All right, so let's keep moving. Let's move to the third strategy. And we only have 5 strategies here, guys. So we're over halfway through this. So let's get to the next strategy. So stick with me here. And again, if you're just joining, make sure you like this video. That helps to get shared to other people. And again, if you find it valuable, share it with someone who you think gets value out of it too, or who will get value out of it. And just the last thing before we move on to the next tip, if you guys want to support, this is something that somebody told me last week on our live stream that I never really even think about. This is something I don't think about much either. If you guys want to support, you can send in super thanks. You can send in super chats and stuff like that. I welcome that. And if you guys want to do that, no pressure. I invite you to do that if you enjoy the content and if it's something you're getting value out of. So thank you so much in advance for that. Melita is saying, yes, you need to get comfortable with the discomfort. Yeah, nothing is easy in the music industry. You get tested a lot. So much surprises. Absolutely, Melita. Absolutely. There's a surprise around every corner. So, yeah, very wise words you there. So let's keep it moving. So the next strategy is leveraging modern technology and automation. And this is about using the available tools to help us be more productive and efficient. Now, I'm going to cut to the chase here about what I'm talking about. I want to bury the lead here. Really, a lot of this is about the new productivity tools, such as the AI tools and all of the stuff that I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. Specifically, AI has had a little bit of a bad reputation. A lot of people either love it and love using it, or they hate it. I think it's changing a little bit now as we're kind of moving into this new era where we kind of see it's going to be a part of our lives one way or the other. And a lot of the people who initially kind of wrote it off and said this is stupid and it's going to make us lose our brain cells and robots and all of this stuff are going to eventually take over. I think even those hardcore people on that side of it have kind of softened a little bit and moved a little bit more toward the center of it because they see how efficient it is. But what this means for us as musicians, let me explain it like this. Throughout every change in the history of society, when we went from farming as a nation and as a world, we moved from that into the machine age, into the industrial age, where everything was kind of done with machines, where machines were doing all of the work, the farming and all of this kind of stuff. When we move from one of those to the next, there's always this speaks exactly to what I was talking about earlier with change. When we changed from this to that, there was always a lot of pushback. There was always a lot of skepticism about how the machines are now going to take all of the jobs and the humans, and we're not going to be valuable anymore. There's nothing that humans are going to be needed for. All of those same arguments persisted and kind of were there during that kind of change as well. And again, the bigger part of that is that people were reluctant to it until they start to see how it was going to work. And here's the key. The people that kind of got on board with it first and learned how to use it wisely and strategically were the people who were the first to succeed. This is why using these new tools like AI and stuff that are available to us is important. Now, let me be clear here. I know a lot of videos and stuff online are about a sort of push, quote unquote, push for AI. This is not what I'm talking about. Whether you like it, love it, hate it, or whatever, I'm talking about the opportunity as it pertains to using AI and tools like that. And again, this is not just about AI, but since AI is the sort of biggest thing in our society right now, it kind of benefits us to talk about it in those terms. But it's just about tools in general. This even talks about the stuff that I just mentioned earlier when I was talking about how the newer school producers were just able to push a button and play guitar riffs and made a song out of it, or push a button that played a drum loop that they didn't really have to think about making. It was just a drum loop that was already made, and they could put the pieces together and they start producing music like that. Those are tools as well. And again, the producers and the musicians and the engineers that adopted those things ahead of time and, learned to use them strategically are the people that are succeeding. Almost all of the pop music on the radio now is done with some form of tool like that, where there's a riff that somebody downloaded or a sample and all this kind of stuff that they didn't create themselves. Pretty much all the music is like that now. So again, as we're moving into this new age, into this new time, leveraging the modern technology and tools and automation that's going to help you be more efficient and successful is what's going to work for you. So be it things like, the tools that help you build a website that you don't have to go in and code and think about for yourself. You can just pick the pieces. Hey, I want this block, I want this, and I want this on my website, and then some pictures here, and you're done. Leveraging those types of tools is what's going to help you be more efficient and consistent. Now, the better you become at using these tools, the faster you will succeed. This is exactly what I just talked about. The better you become at this, the better you become at using things like a chat GPT or, any of Sora, any of the other sort of AI platforms that are popular now. There's one called Notebook LM. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. There's one called Notebook LM that it's absolutely amazing. It can take like these slides that I have here that I made for this live stream. It can take these slides. If I upload these slides to Notebook LM, it can take the slides, sort of arrange them and turn it into a podcast. And when I say podcast, I'm talking about podcasts with people talking. So it has AI voices that it can use, and it'll take this information and have two people talking to each other about this information. It's like some crazy stuff, man. Like AI is just crazy, stupid good. But anyway, the point is, the faster you become, or the better you become at using these tools like AI, other things like that, the faster you will succeed. Now, so the action step here is you need to stay tech savvy. Pick one of these tools, pick one or more of these tools that you find sort of interesting or beneficial, and use it to help you become more productive. So it doesn't matter what it is. If it's ChatGPT, I tend to use ChatGPT a lot for a lot of this content that I write. So like the stuff that I came up with for this presentation today, I write it out in like Microsoft Word. I'll put all my ideas down and say, these are the things I want to talk about. This is what I want to say. This is how I want to say it. And then I'll use ChatGPT. I'll put it in ChatGPT to sort of streamline it. I'll ask ChatGPT something like, how can I say this in a way that's the most valuable? And what I do is I compare what ChatGPT gives me from my idea of it, and I choose between the two. If my idea is better, I'm going with that. And if ChatGPT's idea is better, I go with that. It's kind of like having a personal assistant with you, like where you have somebody in the room and say, hey, give me some ideas about how you would say this. And then they tell me, and I say, okay, that's cool. And then I decide my way is better, or vice versa, right? So that's one of the ways that you can use these tools. So again, the third survival strategy is about leveraging modern technology and automation so that you may remain productive and that you stay ahead of the competition. All right. Jay is saying, hey man, I just used ChatGPT to help me with going about IP for a collab track I'm working on. Yeah, man. It's so funny when ChatGPT first came out, a lot of people were talking about how you could use it to write song lyrics, and you can. It's so funny. I just, for fun, one day I put on there, it said I wanted to write a love song about, I think I put like an ex-girlfriend or something like that. It wasn't a real situation. I came up with something that said, I want to write a love song about my ex-girlfriend. I think I put something like that's going to, as a typical song, is going to say some good things about her and some bad things about her. But I want to say it in a clever way. It literally wrote me out like a verse, chorus, and all of that kind of stuff in ChatGPT. And of course, I never used it for anything. I just thought it was interesting how that worked out. So yeah, you can use it. You can get creative and use this kind of stuff for anything you want. Even with song lyrics like that, what I would suggest, even if you're a songwriter and you want to do something like that, just put that idea in ChatGPT, and you don't have to use what it gives you. Just use it as a brainstorming thing. Imagine it. You're in a room with some other people, and you told these other people, hey, I want to write a song about this thing. What are you guys ideas about that? One person says, oh, it could be this. Oh, you could say this. Another person says, you could say this. You could talk about this. And what that does is get your brain to turn it and say, oh, okay. Those are some ideas I can put in it. And then you go back and write the song. It's a really good tool to get you brainstorming and get your wheels turning and stuff like that. What was said, says, yeah, I use it all the time. It's so efficient and effective. Think of it as your personal expert on just about anything. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Melita saying, yes, I like ChatGPT. I use it a lot. A lot of us use ChatGPT nowadays. Elijah says, why do business strategies use the language of competition? It seems counterproductive. Just 2 cents from the peanut gallery. The language of competition, Elijah. Yeah, that's a fair question. I think I know where you're going with that, or what you're saying about it. It's a fair question. I'm a person that likes to think about words and how words and stuff are used like that too. So I get where you're coming from. I think just like we're talking about ChatGPT being efficient, I think the word competition, though it may not completely accurately describe the entire situation, is that it's efficient in that it's useful in what we're talking about. So if we talk about, like, just talk about this music industry that we're talking about, my underlying belief in, I base this on like what I deal with all the time, is that the word competition, although it seems like that's what it is, doesn't really fully accurately describe what it is. I don't really think we're sort of in this direct competition with each other, which is what it's made to seem when you say the word competition, right? I think it's more that there is a competition for the sort of umbrella thing, like the attention, like what we're talking about. And since all of us are in this attention game, right? All of us are playing this game of attention. It becomes a little bit of a competition of who gets the most attention, who gets the least attention, and how to go about doing it. It's like a game. So if you think about any sort of game, a football game, basketball game, if you're in that game, you are in a little bit of a competition. Even if you're saying, oh, we're only playing against the people we like and we love, I'm playing against my teammates. As long as there is a score to achieve, there's a time clock, and there's a goal to achieve or something like that, there it becomes a little bit more of a competition. So I think that's what it is mostly. Although, again, I don't think it accurately, just 90 or 100% accurately describes everything that goes on. So that's kind of the way I would look at it if you're just thinking about another way to look at it. Melita saying, haha, yeah, the songwriting is funny for brainstorming. Yeah, it actually is. All right, guys, so let's keep it moving. We got 2 more survival strategies here to look at. All right. So the first or the fourth survival strategy we're going to talk about is building a collaborative community. You guys know that follow me, that have been following me for a while, is that collaboration and community is the thing I preach all the time. Excuse me. Get a sip of water here. So, excuse me, I had something stuck in my throat there. So tribes and communities are the way forward. They are the ultimate collaboration method. What do I say all the time? We live in a tribal world. Let me paint this picture for you to see how everything we've said so far has kind of tied together with this strategy here, with this building a collaborative community. So as Elijah just talked about, or asked about, he asked about the word competition. We talked about things being competitive, about how attention is the new currency. Now, in that game that I just mentioned, in the attention game, the people who are winning at that game are doing it in a sort of counterintuitive way. What I mean by that is that you would think that the way to win at that game is to go out and get everybody's attention, get the most attention from the most people that you can. And that's sort of true. The way that people are doing that, though, is through these tribal communities. So here's how it works. Instead of going out and getting, or, trying to do something to get everybody's attention, they're doing something that only gets a certain subgroup or niche. You've heard that word before. A niche's attention. So, I don't know, people who like contemporary jazz music. It's not a lot of those people, right? Some people, maybe a lot of people have an appreciation for it, but just the pure lovers of contemporary jazz music. What you do is you go after that niche of people and say that that's 100 people, just for, sake of the argument here. That's 100 people. Well, now what you have is you have yourself and a group of 100 people who can sound the alarm about your jazz music, about your contemporary jazz music. You see how it's a game of chess. or checkers or whatever game you want to play. It's not just, I'll take something simple, the game of basketball. It seems that the quickest way or the easiest way to win the game, just generally speaking, dribble the ball down the court, get as close to the goal as you can, shoot the ball, put it in the net. That seems common sense, right? But people who play the game strategically is that they understand, I'm going to dribble a little bit here, then I'm going to pass the ball over here. I'm going to let them dribble a little bit. I'm going to have them pass the ball to somebody else while I run down the court. Then they're going to throw the ball to me, and then I'm going to make the shot. You see how it's a strategic game like that. That is this game that we're talking about here when we're talking about this attention game and the way to play that. It's not go out and get everybody's attention. It's this way. Go after this certain niche of people. Pass them the ball. See where I'm going there? Pass them the ball. Have them dribble a little bit. Pass the ball back to you. Now you have a bigger alarm to sound about this thing. Now, as a team of 100 people plus yourself, 101 people, you go after the masses. So it's like building an army to win the war. You don't go fight the war by yourself. You put a team of people together that can fight that war, get them on your team, and go out and fight it together. And your chances at survival, which is what we're talking about, becomes much greater. I like what I just said there. I just came up with that on the top of my dome, that analogy. And I'm telling you, that's probably the most valuable thing I'm going to say on this live stream. I'm going to take note of what I just said there so I can use that analogy again. And I'm not just patting myself on the back there. I mean, I kind of am. But it's a thing that actually holds true. That is the way that people win at all of these games. So when we're talking about the fourth strategy here and about tribes and communities are the way forward, this is the way to win the game, my friends. They are the ultimate collaboration method. When you put that team together, when you have that niche of people together that's going to sound the alarm about whatever it is that you're doing, and you have that collaboration with them, it's game changing. So then the thing about that is your community will support you financially as long as you give them value. Now, this is something that is important. I just talked about this chess game and winning at this game of attention we're talking about, but it's not as easy or as simple as going to get this team or this niche of people. This niche of people are not just going to get on your team unless you're offering them something that is valuable, right? So you need to give them a reason to play the game with you. You need to give them a reason to put, if we're using the war analogy, give them a valuable reason to put their lives on the line for your cause. See how that works? Now, taken away from such a sort of dark way to describe that as an analogy, it's just about building your community, about giving them value. And it's honestly what, I'll let you guys know the secret. It's honestly what I'm doing here. I'm spending my time right now, which is why I said earlier, I'm not thinking about, this is going to make so much money, it's going to get this many views. I'm thinking about how much value I can give you right now in the time that we're going to be on this live stream, with the goal in mind that we build a network together, that we collaborate. Not only that, I can help you guys help me reach my goals, but I help you reach your goals. And that's what the collaboration is. We're all working together toward this mutual thing that we want to achieve, better paying gigs, more opportunities, being full time as a musician or a church musician, whatever it is that you come to this from, being one of the higher paid musicians and have these, or church musicians and have the benefit of being at some of these churches and stuff where you're taken care of. We all want these same things. And I think that when we do that as a team, when we sound the alarm as a team, we can do that together. So the community will support you financially in all other ways. They will support you in your goals financially when you support them, when you give them value. So it's a mutual exchange. It's not that you show up asking for something. If you notice, I asked you guys to like this video and to share this video. I don't know if you noticed, but I strategically did that at a certain time. I waited until I asked you for something, until I gave something first. I spent 15, I don't know if it's about 15 or 20 minutes into the video where I gave something first. And then I asked, hey, now if you're getting value out of what I just said, please like and share the video. That's the way it works. You have to give them value. And when you do that, they will support you. So you're more likely, think about it. You guys who did take the time to like this video, and I thank you guys so much for doing that. You guys that did do that, I mean, it's a subconscious thing, so I'm not sure you'll know it consciously. But if I had just come on the video when I opened up this stream and said, hey, everybody, welcome to the stream. Be sure to like this video. Maybe some people would have done it. Maybe. Just because you're nice and you would have liked, just like me being here or whatever. But it's definitely more likely that you do something like that, once I ask you to do something, that you're more likely to do that once I've given you something first. It's what's called the law of reciprocity. That's something you guys want to become familiar with, the law of reciprocity. And basically, I don't know if I'll do it justice in describing it, but basically what it means is that when you give something first, it makes people be more likely to give something in return to you, because we all want to be nice. We all want to be reciprocal like that. Right. So again, your community will support you if you give them value first. Now, so what's the action item that we need to take in reference to all of this? Well, pick a platform, put yourself out there, and let your community find you. Pick a platform, put yourself out there, and let your community find you. What do we mean by that? Using the analogy, using the game, using the war analogy, all of that kind of stuff. When you want to build a community, you want to start, like it starts with giving value. So you put yourself out there. You say, hey, I'm here. I have this cause. I have these goals. I have this purpose. You start doing that. That's putting yourself out there. This is what I'm about. This is what I do. This is what I like. This is what I love. This is what I don't like. All of this kind of stuff. You put yourself out there, and then you let those people who have those same or similar likes and dislikes and all of that find you. They will automatically be inclined to be a part of what you do because you have similar interests. It's just like when if you guys know, if you ever gone on a first date or had a relationship or something like that, where you've talked for that first time and you found that you have something mutually in common, that you like the same kind of movies or the same kind of foods, or you like to go to same kind of places, you like to travel or whatever, or you have similar disinterests, like you hate golf. I don't hate golf, but I mean, it's not a sport I particularly like, but if somebody had that in common with me, it makes me more likely that I'm going to like that person and that we're going to get along, right? It's the same thing. So you're putting yourself out there. You're putting your personality out there. You're saying, I'm this, I love this, I like this, I don't like this. This is the kind of music I do, all of this kind of stuff. And people who find those things interesting and who like those same kind of things will be more inclined to get on your team. Now, once you have that, that's when you start putting that value out there. You start talking about those things, right? And it's not even just about music. It's funny. We're as musicians here. Have you noticed on any of these live streams and pretty much 99% of the videos I put out on YouTube, I haven't played a single note of music. We're not talking about chords and licks and riffs and runs and drum licks and rudiments and major scales and minor scales and how to do augmented and diminished runs. We're not talking about any of that stuff, right? That stuff is valuable too. I'm not saying it's not, but the community I'm building is built more around like the business side of it, like bringing us to this business side of the music industry where we can have these business skills and these business strategies where we can succeed. So again, you're picking a platform, you're putting yourself out there, and you're letting the community that likes the same things that you like find you. And then you build that relationship over time. Just like the example I gave of having a relationship or going on a first date. Once you get past that first date, you go on a second one, you go on a third one, fourth one. You start to do other things together, start developing, other interests and stuff together. Hello, this is the third or fourth time I'm doing a live stream, third, fourth date. See how all of this is coming together? It's all working as a strategy to build a community around the things that you like and love, right? So again, this is the fourth strategy about building a collaborative community. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Summit Angel Brown is saying shalom. Hey there, Angel. Dimitri is saying, hi Terrence, can you do a video on why musicians don't have their own equipment like keyboards and other? Dimitri, did you ask me that? I think it seemed like I remember you asking me this, or it may not have been you on the last live stream or the one before. But for some reason, I remember that question about musicians not having their own equipment like keyboards and others. And I think I addressed it when you talked about it. As far as a video, I'm not sure. I don't know what the value is in saying, or at least in doing a whole video about that. I'm almost sure I've referenced this in some of the videos I've done, but I think it is important for musicians to have their own equipment, or at the very least, the thing under that, having your own equipment. The next thing under that is at least having access to that equipment, uninterrupted access to the equipment, which means that you can get it and use it at any time. I know a lot of church musicians are like that. They use their church equipment, from the church to do other gigs and stuff like that. And that's fine as long as you have access to that equipment. But at the same time, I don't want to be insensitive to musicians and stuff who may be in positions, financially or otherwise, who just can't afford that kind of stuff right now. I mean, music equipment is, particularly professional equipment, is really expensive. I just reached out to someone at Sweetwater, actually earlier today, my agent there at Sweetwater, about buying something that I want from there. And I'm trying to get him to cut me a deal on it because it's so expensive. So I don't want to be insensitive to those people, but yes, generally speaking, I think it's really good to have your own equipment. And maybe I will do a video. Maybe I can talk about some of the things that you can do to try to mitigate the expenses of it and get your own equipment and building toward it. So yeah, that, Dimitri, that may be something I do. So maybe look forward to that. Let me see. Let me go back up. Motif is saying, taking note. Hey, Motif, thanks for being here again. Jay was saying, yeah, that was fire. I think you're talking about the analogy. Yeah, I'm telling you, like I'm saving that one for myself to use it again in the future. Motif again, you're saying, yes, I adore the collaboration approach, and it's a great way to live and do music business. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Melita said, oh yes, I got it. This is good. You talking about the analogy again? Yeah. Again, I said that almost like I'm gonna write it down like one of y'all said it. I'm gonna use it again in the future. So I'm saying, yeah, let your community find you. That's good. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Letting your community find you. I think that's let me just talk about that for just a brief second. If you look around online now, let me see if I can pull up this. I want to show you guys this thing that YouTube put out. I downloaded it. Let me see if I can find it while I'm talking about this. This thing that YouTube put out at the beginning of this year called let me search for it on my computer. Why We Watch. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, here it is. I found it. Let me show you guys this for a second. Let me go to my screen over here. So they put out this PDF. It's called Why We Watch. And what they've done is they've broken down, YouTube does this every year, and they've broken down the reasons about why people watch YouTube and the things that people are interested in. This is such valuable information to content creators like myself, because we're gaining insight on what people are doing now, what their preferences are, and all of that kind of stuff. And we can create content behind it. So one of the first things, let me scroll through it for a minute here. I know this is kind of small. Let me see if I can maybe enlarge this so you guys can see it a little bit more. That's better. So So yeah, this slide talks about why the quality of what you do needs to be good because people are preferring higher quality stuff. And they're talking about how this is subjective. So that, of course, that goes into like whether or not your video is 4K and whether or not it's watchable on a TV and all of that kind of stuff, right? That's insight. Let's talk about, that's the technical elements. But I want to get to the part where you were just talking about here, and why this is important. I'm scroll through it briefly. If I can't find it, I'll kind of skip over it. Connecting with emotion. This is important. This is going into like, letting your community find you. They talked about this. I'll put this in a link to this in the description. So you guys, if you guys want to check this out, you can. But they basically talked about how, basically what I'm describing here about connecting with people through emotion, connecting with people through likes and interests and dislikes, what we talked about, and letting those communities find you. They basically talked about this exact thing in a little bit different terminology in the same words here. So high quality content, it means it's meaningful to people, right? It's engaging, it's emotionally resonant, and it's relevant. It's relevant to what people are talking about. So the reason I'm talking about this stuff in this live stream and is because that it's relevant. We're all dealing with these struggles about how to get more gigs, how to get paid more. Like all of the things that I make, all of that stuff is relevant to us. I'm not jumping on here talking about, politics, about what people in the, White House and stuff. I'm not talking about this stuff. And it's not that this stuff is not important, but what's more relevant to us from day to day is, this Friday night or this Saturday night when we're doing a gig, or Sunday when we show up at church, is my check going to be right? Is this, am I going to get cheated out of this with this promoter that gave me this gig? Like, these are the concerns that we have. So again, it's just this kind of stuff. This is why it's important. Like creating with trust, like that's important. All of these things that YouTube were talking about, investing in emotion. Yeah, it goes on and on and on and on. But I can, like I said, I'll put a link to that in the chat if you guys want to check it out. But this is the meaning of even the big people at YouTube are describing this paradigm or this situation where it's putting yourself out there, the emotions, like we talked about, the things that you like, interest, and all of that kind of stuff, and building a community and letting that community find you. So yeah, it's something that's absolutely important. Let me see. Dimitri is also saying, I just don't like musicians on my stuff. Not sure what you mean by that, Dimitri. Let me know what you're talking about there. The motif is funny. You're saying, I find that musicians here do have their own gear. Oh, that's what you mean. You're talking about other musicians playing your equipment. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a little, how do I describe it about musicians? I'm okay with it for the most part. I get these situations every now and then where I'm on a gig or something like that, and then there's somebody that wants to come up and play, or like the people I'm playing for that hired me for a gig, some relative that they have, an uncle or a nephew that plays drums or plays keys or something, they want them to come up and play a song or something like that. For that, like, I'm okay with. Now, on the other side of it, if somebody's asking me to use my equipment, borrow my equipment for a gig that they have where I'm not going to be there, that's a little bit of a different story. I tend to only trust like my friends, like my actual friends that are musicians that are that kind of stuff. My best friend, he and I literally grew up together. We've known each other since 6th grade, since middle school. So if he asks to come borrow something, it's not even a thing. Like, I'm gonna let him borrow it. I'm probably, even him, he knows I'm gonna give him a hard time about it, but he knows I'm gonna let him borrow it. So when he asks me for something, I'm like, man, what you need it for? Like, how much money you getting paid? How much money you gonna give me? And so I just kind of bust his chops about that a little bit, but he knows I'm gonna let him borrow for nothing. So yeah, not like, I completely understand. I completely understand not having people on your other. People tend to not take care of stuff unless it's there. So I totally get it. All right. I'll come back to the comments in a little bit. Let me get on with, we got one more strategy to get to. I want to get to that. While we're here, let me see what I did with my slides. There we go. All right, here we go. So, all right, let's get to the next strategy. So the fifth strategy that I want to talk about here is planning for the long term. This is something that is extremely important for all of us musicians and artists and bands, because planning for the future will keep you from getting distracted by the rapidly changing world. We talked about earlier that how things are changing really rapidly, and about how just a couple of years ago, we didn't even have things like Chat GPT and stuff like that. And now it's just been integrated into our society as something that seems like it's been there forever. In this rapidly changing world, we kind of have to have a little bit of a focus. Let me tell you a story about what I mean. About 10 years ago, there's an artist that I was working with, and this was an artist. She was a sax player, and she was getting her career going. I mean, she had been in the industry for years and years and years. So it's not like she was just starting out, but she was trying some new things and getting her career going and all of this kind of stuff. Now, the thing about this artist is that she was, I want to say this in a way that's not, that doesn't make me sound like a butthole here, but she was a very attractive female. And I think that's okay to say. She was a very, very attractive female, like one of these females that pretty much most guys are going to be like, man, she fine. And even like most girls are going to be like, man, that's a beautiful woman. She was that kind of thing. Now, as the women on here can attest to, anytime you have a situation like that, and that where she's a musician, you're going to have a lot of men and things like that are coming at her just because of the way that she looks, right? They're going to be men coming at her saying, oh, I can give you this, I can do this for you, and all of this kind of stuff. So in this situation where I was working with her and I was her producer, and we set some goals. We set some long-term goals about her career. What happened was a lot of opportunities start to come her way. And what I tried to get her to see was that you might want to be careful about all of these opportunities and quote unquote offers that people are giving you, or trying to say that they want to give you, because it's mostly guys. You're an attractive female, and a lot of these guys are coming at you from that angle. It's just the way that it is. And I've been in this long enough to know that, you know, I can sniff that kind of stuff out. I've been over stuff long enough and led stuff long enough where I can see that kind of stuff happen. And if I'm honest, you know, I've probably at some point in the past been one of those guys myself that's just like, man, she fine. Let me see what I can do, you know, kind of thing. So this is just me being honest. But in learning from that, like I said, me telling her, you need to watch out for this stuff. So here's what happened. In us producing this music and stuff that we were doing, we had a schedule that we were trying to meet and all of that. She had some guy come along and offer to do a reality show with her. A reality show. Now, what's funny about this is that this guy, just a random guy, approached her while we were playing a gig at a club, and approached us while we were on break and started spitting this idea of a reality show to her. Now, from the very moment that I saw him walking up, I knew that he was just going to spit some BS. Everything that was going to come out of his mouth was going to be some BS. I just, you know, once you've been around people long enough, and you kind of, like I tell people all the time, my second passion in life, if I hadn't done music, would have been psychology and way the humans work. All of that kind of stuff has always been interesting to me. So I've always paid attention to it. So I could see this guy coming a mile away. Now, he had a camera. This was, again, about 10 years ago. So 2014, 2015. He had a camera that looked like it came from the 80s. He was videoing some taping some stuff in the club, and he had one of those cameras that you sit on your shoulder that literally has the cassette tape in there. This is what he was taping on. And he's walking up saying he can do a reality show with her. He was dressed like, you know, just somebody off the street, like not like a business person or anything like that. He came up offering her this opportunity. Long story short, the way that this panned out is that she got excited about, oh, this guy wants to offer me a reality show. And I'm like, have you checked out any of his work? Have you seen anything else he's done? And she went and got involved with him. And of course, as you may have suspected, it turned out to be like the craziest crap ever. He shot some stuff on camera that looked like a child had shot it with a cell phone that just like the iPhone 1. Like that's what it looked like. It was ridiculous. It was so bad that she never did even put it out. Even when she got it, she was just like, this is not it. And my point in telling you that story is this. when we're in this time now where you have these rapidly changing things and you have a lot of stuff that is coming at you, new tools that are coming out, new this and new that, better this and better that, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get wrapped up in this new thing and say, oh, I've been doing this thing now, for a year. Just like I talked about at the beginning with the fitness and all of that, I've been doing this thing for so long. I haven't been getting the results I want to get. So let me try to do this new thing that's, this dangling, this red herring, so to speak. Right. And I think the lesson there, or the wisdom there, is that we can't allow ourselves to get distracted by a lot of things. Success, it takes time. There are things that inherently take time. One of the things I say this about all the time is things like relationships. We live in this time now where people want these, they go out on these first dates, and if the first date ain't like smacking, if it ain't like the best thing they've ever dealt with, like they're ready to let it go. People, we hear it all the time about this silly stuff, like a girl, they show up on a first date and the guy's, he's cool and he does everything right, but I don't know, he eats with his mouth open or something like that, or maybe it is something small like that, or he puts his elbows on the table instead of not having his, like, doesn't have etiquette or something like that. And then women get turned off by that kind of stuff and they don't go on a second date with him. And the other way around too, like the guys, she didn't, she showed up in this kind of skirt and she should have wore some pants, or vice versa. Like just the silliest things, right? We get distracted by all of these little silly things. Whereas we have to understand that getting to know someone, or building a community like we've been talking about, or having success is something that takes work and takes focused attention, which is why what we talked about earlier about focused attention. It takes that kind of time on platform and time on attention to get us to, right? This is why it's important for us to, plan for the long term so that we don't consistently get distracted. Now, here's the thing. You want to think about how every opportunity, quote unquote opportunity, will affect your future. A quote that someone said to me not too long ago that I remembered is that every choice has an invoice. Every choice has an invoice. Every time, what that means is that every time you make a decision, every time you choose to keep going, or every time you choose to get distracted, there is a cost for that. The cost for the young lady in the situation I was just telling you about, where she got distracted with the reality show, that cost her time that she didn't get back. It actually kind of, in a lot of ways, the cost of that was built a little bit of mistrust in our relationship as a producer and as a client, right? Because what happened was, while we were trying to do this and we were trying to do that, she got distracted and started going after this thing and was doing that for 3 months. That set the album back. That set the amount of time that she was supposed to pay me for my work back, all of this kind of stuff, right? So every choice has an invoice. Every choice has a cost. So you want to think about how all of these choices or opportunities and all of this kind of stuff that come your way will affect your future with respect to what you have planned. For me, like the plan for this now, I'm thinking about this now. In 10 years from now, in 15 years from now, I want to have built a community. My goal is to help a minimum of 5 to 10,000 musicians go full time with their music, doing what they love. And I want to see that in 10 years. And I may or may not get there in 10 years. It may be 15 or 20 years. But that's my goal. So I don't want to start choosing stuff to take me away from that goal prematurely. I don't want to get to 1,000 and say, oh, this is just, it's not working as fast as I want to make it work. So let me go do this other thing that everybody else is doing. Right? You see how that works? So every opportunity has a cost, and, doing all of these things planning for your long term will help you stay focused. Now, what's the action item that we need to take? So with this, we need to develop a roadmap that gets you to your goals. Develop a roadmap, a success plan, a blueprint, however you want to term that. It's going to be something that's going to help you get to your long-term goals. Again, like I just mentioned from me, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I want to have helped a minimum of 5 to 10,000 musicians go full time, be completely free of whatever 9-to-5 obligations that they have on an external job, and be able to do exactly what they love, music, all of this kind of stuff, and get paid handsomely for it. That's going to sustain them and their families. And so when I say full time, I mean full time. Able to live the life they want, go on vacations when they want, have the houses and the cars that they like, not anything overly extravagant. I'm not talking about driving around a Aston Martin or, living in a 15-room mansion or something like that. I'm talking about something that's, reasonable. Being able to take care of your family, not being have to worry about your bills and all of that kind of stuff. Living that sort of life. That's my long-term goal. And I'm developing a blueprint or a roadmap to get there. And what I'm doing here today is a part of that roadmap. It's going to be live streams. It's going to be me putting out videos. It's going to be me coaching people one-on-one, coaching people in groups. It's going to be all of those things that is focused toward this goal that I'm trying to get to. So again, this is the 5th strategy. You're developing your long-term plan for success. Now, just briefly, let's recap everything that we talked about. So we started by talking about embracing change and innovation and why that's important, about how being adaptable to things and changes that come our way are important. So with my roadmap that I just presented, if things change and I have to adapt and do something slightly different, I can adapt to that and not just get stuck in my ways and said, I'm going to do it this way, right? That's why that's important. And then the other thing is cultivating resilience and emotional strength, emotional intelligence, as they call it. With all of the changes and stuff that happen and the setbacks that may occur, and you may not be getting to the goals as quickly as you want to get to them, having resilience is something that's important. Having that stick-to-itiveness. You're going to hear me say that word a lot. I think I said it last week where I said this is my made-up word. Stick-to-itiveness, the ability to stick to something, even though it may not be at the time seemingly presenting you the results that you want. And then the other thing was leveraging the modern technology and automation as it comes our way, as these sort of things that come our way and we see value in them, adapt to be able to use those tools, right? To make us more efficient and get us better at what we're doing. And then building a collaborative community. We talked about why that's important, about, putting ourselves out there so that our community finds us. And then lastly, we just talked about planning for the long term and the importance of that, and why it's going to keep us from getting distracted and keep us focused on the goals that we need to focus on. All right. So let's go over here to the chat and see what you guys are saying. So thank you guys so much again for being here. If you're just joining, again, we've been talking about, surviving the music industry and some of the things that we can do to survive the process. And again, if you've gotten value out of this video, be sure to leave a like on it. Be sure to leave a comment and all of that kind of stuff. That way it can help spread to more people. So let me go back over here to the comments for a while. Sorry, I had a call coming in there. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Yeah, Melita saying, yeah, this is good. You were talking about, okay. Some is saying, let your community find you. Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. I read that one over, and then Dimitri was talking about I like people on my stuff. Okay. Yeah, you guys are still talking about not people letting people use your equipment. So I just don't like them on my stuff. Something happened to it. They won't help you get it fixed. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Like I said, people don't care about your stuff as much as they care about their own. So, okay, you guys, I think you guys are still talking about that. I don't want to read all of that because you guys are kind of conversing with each other. Yep, you guys are kind of conversing with each other. Okay. Melita saying, yeah, you can't say yes to everyone. True. Can't say yes to everyone. We talked about last week's stream about the importance of being able to say no. And not just as it concerns letting people use your equipment, but, saying no to gigs and stuff like that that don't align to your needs or don't fit your requirements, all of that kind of stuff. Um, you're saying LOL, these guys, I see them. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Yeah, but if you guys have any more questions, you can drop them in the chat. And as you're doing that, before we end the stream, again, I want to let you know about, I say this a little bit every week, but again, I don't advertise it much. But one of the things that we do, I talked about all these action items that we need to do. One of the things that I've built is a platform or community called Musicians Inner Circle. Musicians Inner Circle, MIC, so Mike for short. You get the pun there, Mike. And what we do is monthly, we do this work. We break down trainings every month where we take some of these subjects and some of these issues and stuff that we're dealing with in the industry, really similar to what we're doing here now. It's more formal and more put together. And the live stream is a little bit more laid back version of it, but we do it more formally. We dive deep into those issues and we develop trainings around that. And I'll just go over here just really quickly to show you guys some of the trainings and some of the courses that we have inside Musicians Inner Circle. So this is Musicians Inner Circle here, and then we have courses on. Let me start from the bottom this time. I think I started from the top, started from the bottom that we're here last time. Let me scroll all the way down just to let you guys see some of the stuff that we have in this. I talked about last week how we had a course on the art of assertiveness and how being assertive as a musician, oh my God, is game changing. So it's so important. We did an entire course on that. We talked about the musical mindset, about everything that you need to, the mindset that you need to have, as a musician, the 2025 playbook, mastering live streaming. So if you want to get into live streaming as a musician, like this kind of stuff, beyond the stage. So everything that you need to do, like outside of performances to be successful as a musician, balancing your music and your life. That's something that a lot of us have an issue with. Like, we go all in on this music and then we leave our personal lives to the side and we neglect our families and boyfriends and significant girlfriends and significant others and all of that kind of stuff, right? Financial breakdown, that is, oh my God, how to manage your finances, something important, right? So yeah, a bunch of courses here: monetizing your music, negotiating contracts, how to set up a home studio, all of these. Like, we've dove into so many different topics here. It's crazy. And again, we do a new one every month, and it's highly valuable. A lot of people tell me about the value they get out of this, and a lot of people have started their businesses. A lot of people have had successful businesses started just from the trainings that we've done here inside Musicians Inner Circle. So guys, I want to let you guys know about that. And right now we are running a little bit of a special on it. The normal cost for it is $97 a month. It's a monthly charge because, again, it gets more valuable over time. And then the price that you come in on is usually the price that you kind of stay on, even if the price changes. But right now we are running a special on it. We're doing it for $47 a month. And if you guys are interested in joining it, this changes at the end of this week. So when we do a live stream next week, it's going to go back to the regular price. So again, I just want to inform you guys of that. So I'll put the link to that in the chat to let you guys kind of check that out if you want to join in on it. I'm telling you, it's something that is very valuable. And again, it's the good part about this is that it's really no risk to you, because if you get in there, you see that it's some stuff that you kind of like, but it's not really for you right now, you can cancel, no questions asked, and it's done. Like, you can join back whenever you want to join back if you want to, or if you never want to, you don't have to. It's really no risk to you. I wanted to make it something that's not a big risk to people. And again, I wanted to price it as something that's available to most of us as musicians that we can handle, not because a lot of us are not making a whole lot of money right now, but something that's reasonable that we can handle. So again, if you're interested, I invite you to join that. Click on the link in the chat. Go ahead and join that today, because again, the special is leaving in a couple of days. And again, next time you see me on here, this special won't be on anymore. So go ahead and check that out. I got a couple of questions here in the chat. Let me see. Max is asking, how can I get more corporate gigs? I play so many local places. I want bigger and better stuff. I play lots of instruments, instrumental summer tunes, great cocktail hour stuff, not too loud, good for vibes. It's a good question, how to get more corporate gigs. So I always recommend a couple of things. The first thing I'll recommend is this. Find a booking agent. Get a booking agent that you can Google this. Just do a Google search of music or musician booking agents in your area. So whatever area you live in. I don't know if it's, I live in Texas. So Google music booking agents in Texas. Try to connect with them. Now, before you do that, though, you want to make sure you have some stuff that you can present to them. You don't want to reach out to people and you don't have anything. So you need to have, this is why I'm always adamant and telling musicians to put your stuff out there. Have an Instagram, have a YouTube. Let me see if I can show you this message that I just got. This was yesterday. I want to pull this up. I don't know if the names are on it, but let me see. I want to be sure, because it's a text that I got from someone yesterday about a gig. Yeah, here it is. But I want to make sure the name, I don't want to front anybody names on it. So, okay. I can show you this part. Let me cover this phone number up. So let me show you this part of it. I have to cover the number up. So I hope this works. So there's a text right here that says, you see this? Let me see. Oh, my phone went off. That sucks. Uh-oh. I just made a phone call to them. Definitely didn't mean to do that. Okay, so let me cover that up again. So there's let me see if that right here. So you see that text message right there? It asks me, what are your rates? Do you have an Instagram page or something? It's not focusing. Come on, focus thing. Yeah, Instagram page or something that I can take a look at it, right? See that? I just accidentally called them on accident to hope they don't call me back. Anyway, this is why I always talk about it's important, because everybody that's asking you to do something now, or anybody that you're trying to get gigs from, and this is someone that reached out to me about doing something for them. The first thing that they asked was, do I have an Instagram or something that I can show them? So in answering your question here, Max, make sure you have some stuff that you can show them. So something on YouTube, something on Instagram where you're playing, where the stuff you just said to me, you play a lot of instrumental summer tunes. Make sure you have something of that where you can show people some kind of link you can send to the booking agent that you're going to reach out to. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, if you know of some corporate bands or bands that play corporate gigs in your area, hook up with them. Get friendly with them on a sort of friendly basis and learn what it is that they're doing and have them give you information, and maybe even get connected with them. Let them know, hey, you're available to play such and such gigs if they want to invite you in to play something, or if they ever have some opportunities. That's the second way. Now, another way is, this is the third way. Another way I will say is, another thing you can Google in your area is like these conferences and stuff. Every city has like a website for that city that tells you the events that's happening in that city pretty much year round. What you can do is just Google whatever that website is for your city. Look up these conferences and events, like big events and stuff that are happening in the city. And then look for the contacts of the people, the organizers for those events and stuff like that. And then you reach out to those people. Now, here's the thing about that. Most of the people who have big stuff like that, they're going to have all of their events planned a year or two in advance. Like right now in 2025, they're planning events for 2027 and 2028. So they're already getting, musicians and all of this. They're already booking that kind of stuff for a couple of years in advance. So the thing about this is, when you reach out to them, the likelihood is that they're probably going to already have people that, that they're going to work with and all that kind of stuff, because they book so far in advance. The good part about it is you get on their radar. I can't tell you how many gigs and stuff I've done from people who've just reached out to me, who I maybe reached out to 5 years ago and say, oh, you remember we talked, 3, 4, 5 years ago and you did this. I was wondering if you're available for this. And I'm like, no, I don't even remember talking to you. And some I do. But those are some ways that you can get in on the corporate thing. So hope that works out for you. Hope that works out for you, Max. So, and then Jay is saying, ministry is unique. There are things that I wouldn't do if I didn't see it as a ministry. But it's important to be careful about which opportunities we agree to. How are some ways you decide? Yeah, man, that's a really, really, really good question. And the reason it's a good question is, and it's kind of timely now, is there's a guy that we called a substitute singer that we called in on a gig for just 2 weeks ago. And the guy was he was a Christian musician. He was a worship leader and stuff at his church and all of that kind of stuff. And we sent him a song list it was a party that we were doing. We sent him a song list, and he didn't want to do some of the songs because some of the lyrics and stuff in the song that he was saying personally for him didn't kind of vibe with him being a Christian and all of that kind of stuff. And I just kind of thought, whatever about it. We kind of changed the set list to do whatever. How do I decide? It's not really, to me, I may not be the best person to ask that question to, because to me, it's not a big thing. As long the threshold for me is not that high. Again, as long as the opportunities is not something that's blatantly, doing harm to someone, or, what's an example of something like that? Like, I probably wouldn't take a gig from, I don't know, the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. You know what I mean? Like something like that that's blatantly obvious. Or, I don't know, I probably wouldn't play from some like Diddy sex party or something like that, right? You see, like those kind of things is probably pretty much where my threshold is at. For me, if it's something that's, I don't know, there's just, people having a good time, even if there's drinking or something there's a party or something like that, I'm open to it. I don't, generally speaking, I don't take everything that comes my way anyway, despite any of that stuff. But, just for me, you asking me personally, so this is just my thing, my personal thing is I don't care about it that much. I know where my intent and what my purpose and stuff like that is. And I can stay within that no matter where I am. Right. I can stick to my guns. I can hold to what, if say drinking is not my thing, and drinking is actually not my thing. I drink every now and then, like I'll have a drink, but something that may surprise you guys to know, I've literally never been drunk a day in my life, ever. Now, I've drank some liquor because I have like a very low threshold for it. Like I've drunk some liquor and kind of felt a little, the tingly feeling and stuff that you get from that. But as far as being drunk, never, ever. But let's just say I didn't drink at all, and I was, going to perform or play at a party or something where it's a drinking party, which I have done before. I know how to be in that environment and not drink. It's that simple for me. There's a video that I did about, what was the video called, about church musicians playing in clubs and stuff like that. And while the direction of that video is something different than what we're talking about now, the principle of it is still the same. It was that, playing in clubs, no matter where I'm playing at, for me, it allows me to get better at my craft. The more that I do something like that, the better I become at doing it. And again, I know how to be in situations like that and not participate in those kind of things. Now, there was a lot of comments on the video that made arguments and stuff about, like, participation in it is supporting it and all of that kind of stuff. That's just not the way I look at things. You can look at it that way if you want. I don't. It's like the movies, like when you're talking about, there's two examples I go to for this, like movies with the Harvey Weinstein thing. If you guys are familiar with that situation, and about how he, this big time movie executive producer guy, Harvey Weinstein, has been basically, I don't want to say the word because, in the video, but is doing these horrible things to women and having these kind of, Diddy kind of things times 10 in the movie industry, and about how he's going to jail and stuff for those kind of things. But can I still watch a movie that Harvey Weinstein produced? Yeah, I will, especially if it's my favorite movie or one of my favorite movies, because I know how to separate those two things. R. Kelly is another example. When R. Kelly, just a few years ago, got, arrested, and he's in jail for all of these things that he did and all of this kind of stuff. There's a lot of rhetoric going around about whether or not we should listen to his music. Same thing happened with Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson got accused of the things he got accused of. Should we listen to Michael Jackson? And in my mind, I've always been able to separate those things. The artist from the artistry. Those two things are separate to me. I can enjoy this piece of music and still think this person is a piece of crap and would never, pretty much buy anything that they're doing again. But this music is already out. So you see how that works? So I know that was a kind of a long-winded way to answer your question about how to decide, but that's kind of how I think about it. You were asking about deciding which gigs to take. So yeah, that's the way I think about it. Max is saying, I have all the things to present. I feel like booking agents are hard to work with. I've never had luck. I would say keep trying, Max. Honestly, my experience has been kind of different. And I guess it would depend on what hard to work with is to you. I think for me, anytime that there's been any sort of difficulty in working with these people, with booking agents and stuff like that, if I'm honest, it's probably came down to something that I needed to be doing and wasn't doing. Like the stuff I was saying earlier about having your stuff together. Like generally speaking, if you got yourself set up, if you got your contracts ready, you got, music out where you can show people all of these kind of things. Like generally speaking, I've not had any trouble with booking agents. They're going to take their fees out and stuff. Like each booking agent that you work with, they're going to have their standard fees that they take out. But even that, I can tell you, like I don't know if you get a $400 gig and their their rate is say 50% is high. I don't think I've dealt with any 50% people, but even them making $200 and you making $200 is probably more than you're going to make on that club gig from last weekend that you got paid $75 at. So to me, it just depends on how you look at it. And for me, it's a way to get in the game. That's what you're talking about when you're talking about these corporate gigs and stuff like that. You want to be able to get yourself in the game. Once you get in the game and you become a player, other people start to see you, and that's what people reach out to you for. So pretty much all the calls and stuff, even the one that I just showed you the text message of and all of that kind of stuff, that was a result of me not of me playing in a club or someone. Like that's someone that I've been in this game and they were asking me to play for a cocktail hour for something, right? So that's what that came down to. So yeah. All right, guys. So, oh my gosh, 5:30. We already been on here an hour and 37 minutes already. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you guys have no more questions, any last minute questions, anything like that, I will let you guys go. Again, make sure you check out Musicians Inner Circle if there's something you're interested in. I'm not trying to push you to do it, but again, the special is going off of it at the end of this week. So this is the last time you'll probably see it here. So if you want to get in on that, make sure you do it now because the price is going to change this weekend. It's going to go back up to the normal price. So make sure you get in on it now. And again, it's no strings attached. If you get in, you don't like it, cancel. This is how that works. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know. You guys can drop in the chat too for you guys who have stayed here to the end. Thank you guys for being here. I always like to kind of reward the people who stay here to the end. If you guys want to see or have certain subjects that somebody asked me about a subject to talk about in a video or something like that. If you guys have questions like that you want me to talk about in these live streams or, subjects to break down, drop them in the chat and then we could talk about those in a live stream as well. All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, stay tuned. What my plan is to do these live streams like once a week. So we'll probably do one next Tuesday at this same time. So guys, make sure you bookmark that. I'll put up put it in the community tab and send out an email and stuff about it as always. So you guys will be notified that way if you're on the email list. Melita saying, thanks again, Terrence. Learned a lot. Thank you, Melita. Thank you for being here. It means a lot for you to be here. So, and I'm glad that you got something from this. All right, guys. So with that said, you guys have a great day. I will see you on the next stream. Make sure you make some good music. Use these principles that we talked about today to get better. Take just one thing that we learned today and apply it to your life. And so when we're talking about this next week, we can talk about how you've improved. All right. So that being said, I'll see you guys in the next stream. Have a great day. Peace out.